All right, so it is 4 o'clock. Let's make sure that our audio is working. And let's see here. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. I'm checking on, yeah, sweet. So I can hear myself. Let me know if you guys can hear me all right. And welcome back, everyone, to our next live stream. Now that I think the audio is working okay, let's go ahead and switch to the full screen and say welcome back, everyone, to Woodland Pools, and welcome back to another Cardano Q&A live stream. We do these things every 2 weeks, every other Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 2200 GMT. So if you're watching us live here, let us know where you're joining from, where you're calling in from, and go ahead and drop in your questions, and we'll get to those throughout the stream. And if you're watching on the replay, join us next time. We'd be happy to have you. It's always a good time. So let's switch back over, and let's go ahead and get started. So let us know where you're joining from. And yeah, I decided today to wear my Cardano Summit shirt. You can see it's, there you go. It's interesting type on there. But yeah, it was a really good time. So I guess the summit now was about 10 days ago that it was over. Yeah, I mean, it was a really, really great time. For those of you that watched our different weekly reports when we were covering it, there's been a bunch of stuff coming out of the summit. So we went over some of the initial partnerships that were launched, and then some of the, obviously, the big announcements with Acuant and SingularityNet, and Singularity with their AI projects and launching that on Cardano. So that's been super cool. But yeah, so and for those of you that didn't make it, if you come to summit.cardano.org, the site is still up, and now what they've done is they have started uploading all of the different keynote speeches. There's some really, really good ones here that you can check out. And yes, you can come and see all of those. We've covered some of like our favorites there, but I'm actually curious, for those of you that were in the remote world, and let me see if I can reload this. I'm curious, how many of you guys, let's see when this thing loads back up, how many of you that are out there were playing around in the remote world and had a little person? Here we go. So for those of you who didn't see it, it was absolutely beautiful. And you're one of these little people, and you're kind of running all around. It was really neat. And so you had these things where you can portal to different places. All these little things would portal you up to these different worlds up here, and they all had all the different tracks were playing at different times, or rather, they're playing different content. Here you go, on all these different tracks. I can't even remember what it was. Impact, governance, utility, and I can't remember what the other one was. Maybe and adoption, I think, was the fourth one. So really, really great time. So yeah, I'm curious how many of you guys were there, and how many guys were there. And there was also that thing too where like you can collect the different little collectibles. There was like 7 of them, and they said that what they're gonna do is afterwards they're gonna do a random drawing and send out some NFTs. So yeah, curious how many of you guys were there. What were your favorite talks and things that you saw, and what are you all excited about? So let's do a couple of hellos here. So yeah, so sound is good, sweet. I appreciate it. Pedro from Kissimmee, Florida, very good. Montevideo, wow, I did not expect, no esperaba tener un uruguayo. Ariel, yo también soy de Uruguay. Hace un tiempo que estamos en Estados Unidos, pero bienvenido. Didn't expect to see somebody from Uruguay. And Vince, hello from SoCal. Thanks for doing this. Question, what does the color coding and number ranking mean in the Dataless wallet? Great question, Vince. So let's kick off with that one first. You know, unfortunately, I was hoping what we could do is, I was hoping that we could, I was trying earlier to load up Dataless, and I thought it would be kind of fun. So what I was thinking was for our live streams, what we could maybe do moving forward is to try and like at the beginning of it, kick off with, like some kind of like live tutorial on something, because there's always like a few people that ask like similar questions. So I thought maybe at the beginning we could kick off with some kind of little, intro tutorial as people are kind of filtering in and the questions are starting to come in. And then from there, we could, then from there get to the actual questions as people start thinking of different things. And what I was hoping to do today was to go from like a Dataless software wallet and move over to a Yoroi software wallet, but true to form as people complain about a lot. It had been a hot minute since I'd opened my Dataless wallet, and when it just sat on unloading for a while, and I was getting everything else ready, so I didn't have a chance. But we'll probably do it for the next one. But for your question, it's a really good question. So for those of you that aren't familiar, Let me see if I can find like a screenshot here or something. And I'll drag it over here if I can find a Dataless wallet rankings. Let's see if I can find a good picture of what he's referring to so that you all can see. I'm sure I could find, someone has a screenshot of it somewhere. Let's see. Oh yeah, perfect. Here we go. So yeah, okay, this is perfect. Let me open up this image in a new tab, and I will drag this over. Yeah, this is perfect. Okay, so here you go. So for your question, Vince, right? So this is what Vince is talking about. Can I move this? No. So I'm gonna hide your question for a second so everybody else can see. Here we go. Oh, sorry. And there we go. Okay, cool. So Vince's question is, what do these different numbers mean? And what do the different colors mean, right? So there you go. So what's the color coding and what does the number ranking mean? So technically, what this is supposed to imply is it's supposed to be the ranking of the stake pools themselves according to this ranking algorithm that the Dataless team has put together. And then technically, the number that you see here is, so the color coding being like sort of like with a stoplight with, green is good and red is bad. And then, so you have these rankings here, and then, it's supposed to give you an idea of like, oh, the bright green ones are like the best pools to delegate to, and then the red ones would be the worst ones to delegate to. But there's a few caveats there. The first one is, so this one doesn't show it, but for anybody that opens up Dataless, what you'll see is, I don't see any other good pictures, but it's okay, we'll go with this one. What you'll see is that, they only do the ratings and the rankings up to a certain number, and the number changes, but right now it's like, I don't know, 560 or something like that. And what you'll see is that they'll actually do, through their ranking system, a real ranking from all the way from 1 until whatever that number is, like 560 or whatever. And then once it gets to that number, whatever like their whatever they would call like last place, they'll put like an asterisk by it. And then every other pool from that point on, they all get sort of tied for last, basically, in this rating system that they put together here. But what I want to clarify, though, is that the way that they put together this ranking and rating system is a hot point of contention across the stake pool ecosystem. You can ask pretty much any pool operator. I mean, obviously, except for the ones that are probably in the top 10. But even those, I think, would probably agree that the way that this ranking is put together is kind of broken because of a few things. What they do is they utilize what they call a non-myopic ranking system, like an algorithm. It's sort of like, it's not an algorithm, it's a formula. A non-myopic ranking formula. But whereas something might like mathematically, so what they mean by non-myopic is that like, okay, if you were to look at the long run, like going out to infinity, what would be the ultimate rankings of pools in terms of which ones would stand the test of time? But some of the assumptions that are baked into that long run thing about which one would make the most sense for you to delegate to as a delegator, that's where there's some contention there. Like, for example, one thing is I believe that it's like if you can see actually if you look at how some of these rankings actually populate in Dataless. One thing, for example, is like if a pool has less than like 1 million pledge, then I think they're automatically dropped into like the red category. Like they don't even make it up to like the green category, for example. And actually, I believe that they may actually be tied for last if they don't have 1 million pledge, or if they haven't already validated 100 blocks or more, then they're automatically dropped in sort of that last place. So in order to get past, remember how I was saying the whole like tied for last thing about like let's 560th place with an asterisk by it, and then so you think about the first 559 pools get an actual ranking, and then the other roughly 2,500 pools are all tied for last at like 560th or so, right? And that bucket of 2,500 pools that are all ranked for last, that includes pretty much any pool that doesn't have over 1 million pledge or that hasn't already validated over 100 blocks. So you can already see sort of the fault in this logic, right? Where if you've got a pool that, let's say it just kicked off, but the delegation is quickly growing on it, right? That alone would indicate to you as an actual like person researching the pool, would indicate like, no, this pool is on a healthy trajectory. They're like, they keep growing, they keep getting blocks, that they're a good one to delegate to. But through this non-myopic ranking system that they've put together, it would be dropped at the very, very end of the list and tied for last, tied with a pool that like might have no pledge at all, has never validated any blocks. So for example, like I said, I can't pull up Dataless right now, but if we were to pull up our pool, for example, let me switch over to here, and I can bring your question back. There we go. So if we were to switch over to our pool, we validated 75 blocks. We've pledged 250,000 ADA, right? So you can see here we have a long track record of validating blocks. Yeah, so our pool, if you look in Dataless, will be ranked last, tied for last, the same with a pool that may have started yesterday that has no pledge at all, no delegators, and no blocks validated. So it's technically a ranking system, but it's pretty broken, and it's pretty well known in the community that that needs to be overhauled and take other factors into account other than just those things. So what I would suggest for that, if you've got questions about like pools and how to find pools and stuff like that, I'd recommend instead that you check out our video. Oh, come on. Why is this being so slow? Come on. Check out our video on selecting the right stake pool for you. And then we actually go into that page that I was on. If you're not familiar with it, is pooltool.io. And we go into how to use PoolTool. So this is for Vince. Using PoolTool to select the right stake pool for you. Let me actually using PoolTool to select, let's try again, the right stake pool for you. There. Okay, cool. So check that one out, and we go into a lot of different things on how to utilize PoolTool. Let me see if I can actually open it up here. And like a lot of different things that you can like look for. And since we're live, and I was promising we were gonna do like pseudo compressed tutorials, let's go ahead and take a look at PoolTool actually while we pull it up. Keep dropping your questions in. Keep letting us know where you're joining from. In the meantime, we'll do sort of a semi-tutorial here on PoolTool, and then after that, I want to look at something in your ROI. But we'll just sort of keep going, and you guys let us know what you want to talk about. These are our friends at Eden, really good folks over there. So let's clear out that search. Okay, great. And get some water. Okay, so in PoolTool, there's obviously a lot of information here. And in that video that I had linked, we go into a lot more detail. But you can look at a lot of different things here, and you can filter by a lot of different things too. So depending on what kind of a pool you're looking for, you can come here, and so some baseline things that you probably want to try out is you want to go here to these filters, and we want to pick pools that are not saturated. So the idea with saturation, we've talked about this in the past, but the idea with saturation is that currently the saturation point is at about 64 million ADA delegated. And then the way that it works is with proof of stake, what you want to do is you want to have these stake pools validating blocks, but you want to make sure you don't concentrate power too much to any single pool. So the way that IOHK has dealt with this in the Cardano protocol is by setting a saturation limit. And the idea is that a pool, as you get additional delegators and additional rewards, rather, as you get additional delegators and therefore your delegation increases, the proportionate amount of rewards that are assigned to that pool will also increase. And that'll continue increasing in a linear fashion until you hit the saturation limit. And now once you've hit that saturation limit, your amount of delegators and your amount of delegation that you need to split the rewards between will keep growing, but the total amount of rewards that you've gotten will have stopped at that point at the saturation limit. So if you think about it, you're incurring rewards penalties because you're splitting the same amount of rewards with an ever-growing number of people. So you don't want pools that are saturated. So that's the first thing. And then you also want to make sure that it's a non-zero stake, right? You don't want it that it's a pool that they haven't pledged anything and that there's nobody else pledged to them either. And then for the Epic fee, the standard Epic fee right here, the fixed fee is about 340. So there's really no reason why this Epic fee, oops, yeah, this is pretty laggy. Sorry about it, guys. There's no reason why the Epic fee should be more than, what can we get it to? There's no reason why the Epic fee should be more than 500 ever. And what you can also do is let's pick pools that we know have successfully been able to do the thing and been able to validate blocks. So let's say they've gotten at least 10 blocks so far, validated successfully, and that's probably, and then variable fee here too. An average variable fee is anywhere from 0% to about 5%. Once it goes above that, it gets kind of tricky too. So let's say that we want at most 5. And now if we hit apply, we can get a much better subset of pools to start from. And then we can close this. Cool. So we can see now we're at about 1,100 pools. There's still a lot of them, right? But if without those filters, we got about 3,000 pools. So that's just a couple of little things in terms of Pool Tool. In that video that I linked, we go into way more detail. But there's a few things to consider. I would think that like some of these things here in Pool Tool and sort of doing your own analysis on the factors that are really important to you is probably a better way to look at it than those Dataless rankings, until at least Dataless updates the way that those rankings are put together, and and then we can see. So cool. Good question. Thanks for kicking us off with that one. For those that are just joining, we've got Pool Tool pulled up here. I've also got Yoroi that we're going to look at in a second. Happy to answer any questions about any of these tools in the ecosystem or anything at all. So again, let us know where you're joining from, and then we'll go from there. Let's do a couple of other hellos. Ernest, good to see you again. North Carolina, nice. We've got a couple of friends out in North Carolina. Really, really pretty area out there. And I bet right now it's beautiful out there right now. Aramis, hola, Santo Domingo. Welcome, bienvenido. Danielle, you were there. It was beautiful and amazing, and your favorite was the Hydra Scalability protocol. Oh, sweet, Danielle, where were you? Did you make it to Wyoming, or what meetup did you go to in the world? And I want to say on that note, thank you for everybody that approached us at the Wyoming summit. It was so cool. I mean, so we do these live streams every 2 weeks, and this is a lot of fun chatting with you all in real time here. But it was so neat actually meeting some of you in person. We had a few people that approached that had seen the videos. We got a couple of delegators that stopped by and said hello. It was really great. Really, really great time. And then, obviously for different reasons with, travel and international travel with the different lockdowns that are still in place, and even just, understood hesitancy with everything going on with the ongoing pandemic. I imagine that future years will be much better attended, and we're really looking forward to seeing all of you, once things have kind of normalized a little bit. Really looking forward to seeing more of you in person. But I did want to take a moment to say that for those of you that were with us at the summit, it was a great time, and it was just so nice meeting so many of you in person. So that was great. Okay, Leroy from Pittsburgh. Okay, Pedro. Delegated your ADA to Aspen via Yoroi. How do you know that Aspen received your delegation? Oh yeah, sure. So a couple things you can do, depending on, so the easiest way is you can come to your Yoroi wallet, and I was planning on going into Yoroi anyway, so thanks for the transition. You go into your Yoroi wallet, and what you'll do from here is, I have multiple because we do different videos and things, but find your wallet. This one here is one that we ported over from Dataless for one of our tutorials. And you can see, it'll show you, actually here I go, at the bottom. It'll say the stake pool that you're delegated to, and it should say Aspen Pool by Woodland Pools. I don't know why that's refreshing, but it should say Aspen Pool. And then, and that's how you know for sure. The other thing too is, for those of you, if you're just getting ready to delegate, and just for fun, this is the page that we reference a lot. And we always do, so if you remember like our welcomes from our weekly reports, we always welcome people as they join. So for example, like these folks here will be a couple that we'll do little screenshots and include them in the welcome thing. So if you're planning on delegating and you come to pool.pm, so here's pool.pm. If you're planning on delegating and you go to pool.pm, you can actually, when you delegate, when you come here, pool.pm is a fantastic site that shows in real time all the traffic on the network. Like for example, you can see, for example, these were two brand new wallets that they created their wallets and then they delegated. You can see here, this one with a dash through it is somebody that actually undelegated completely. So this person removed their 313 ADA, And then here, where these two things happen simultaneously, you can see here that they removed 313 ADA, but then got 1.8. This, you know, is an undelegate. So if I come here to your ROI and I go to withdraw, and then I click on deregister, then what happens is this is like to remove. So if you want to just get your rewards out of your ROI, right? You don't want to stop delegating, but you want to just get your rewards into your funds, into your total. You can go to withdraw and then keep registered, right? And then that's fine. But if for some reason you wanted to completely remove yourself from delegation in Cardano altogether, then if you clicked on deregister, then what would happen is the network traffic you would see is something like this, where you would see that you have removed your balance from delegation completely, and then you'll see a refund of the 2 ADA that you paid as a deposit minus the network transaction fee, which is usually about 0.17 or 0.2. So here you see rounded to 0.2. So they got their ADA back, and then they got, or they undelegated from the pool, and then they were given back 1.8 as their refund. And then here, this is what it looks like when someone goes to another pool, and then you can similarly see, let me keep going here. Oop. I don't want it to lag up, but anyhow, yeah. So you can see. Oh, you can actually see also here, like when blocks are validated. This is a pretty cool site. So you can see here, for example, this one here went from AdaLite 7 and came to our pool. So yeah, pretty cool stuff, and a really pretty site. Oh, and the other thing you can do too that we showed on another video recently is if you get a wallet address. So we recently did a video on NFTs and how you can manage your NFTs on the Cardano blockchain. So if you come to here, this is where we have our assets for our NFTs. For this wallet, if we just come to any of the receive addresses, I'll let this load up here. Okay, great. If I grab any of these addresses, like that one, let's see if I got it. Cool. And then we come to pool.pm and we do a search. Give that a second to load up. Cool. And then if you paste here your address, it'll show you your wallet, and it'll show you any NFTs that you're holding, which is pretty cool. So if you've got, you already have some CNFTs, you have some Cardano NFTs, you can just paste your wallet into pool.pm, and you can actually visualize all of your NFTs, and then you can actually click on the NFT and view the NFT itself standalone, separate from your wallet. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, cool. All right, let's get back on track. Let's see what some of our other questions are here. All right, so Vince said, thanks for the knowledge. I've watched many of your videos and referred many others who are looking to get involved in ADA. Your channel is a jam. Keep up the good work. Hey, thanks so much. Really appreciate that. Very, very kind of you to say. We appreciate the work. And then actually, yeah, so I'll say also, if you guys are enjoying the stream, give it a thumbs up. Let's get it out to some more people so we can answer some other folks' questions. Yeah, let us know what other questions you all have. Here we go. Make sure down at the bottom here. Okay. Sorry, this thing's jumping around. Okay, here we go. So have to run, but wanted to stop by and show some love. Hey, thanks. ADA is your biggest holding so far. Do we only hold ADA, or do we dabble in a few other cryptos? Yeah, as a general rule, I think diversification is probably a good idea. I will always throw this up and say, hey, not financial advice. Make sure you do your own research on which projects you're interested in and how much you want to invest in anything at all, crypto or anything else. But yeah, like personally, we've got some Bitcoin, some Ethereum, primarily in Cardano as well. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like, as Charles has said many times, I agree, and I have full expectation that in the future, what we're going to see is there isn't going to be like a winner, like a single crypto that just like blows everything else away and nothing else exists and it's a barren wasteland aside from this one crypto. I think what's much more likely that we're going to see is like multiple blockchains serving different purposes and solving different kinds of problems. And so with that in mind, you would fully expect that of these different ones that are solving these different problems, that we will see different appreciations of those as well, especially if you're investing in them, like for the actual funds of the token itself. So yeah, I think there's nothing wrong at all there, and it's actually a similar thing to what we're also doing. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. Great show as always. Yeah. Hey, and thanks. So and also, she's one of the members of our Telegram group. If you want to join us in our Telegram group and you want to chat with us in real time in between our live streams, feel free to join us in our Woodland Pools Telegram group. Woodland Pools Telegram. Feel free to join us there. It's a really, really great group. With just a lot of like very friendly and positive people. If you want to ask questions, you want to get some help, or if you want to help others out and just chat about the stuff that's going on, feel free to join us in there. It's a really, really great group of people, and a lot of times we'll be tied up doing something else, and somebody will ask a question before we can get to it. There will be like somebody that jumps in and is helping out. So really, really great group. Can't plug that enough. Like how awesome the people are there. Okay, let's see. Hello, everybody from the Netherlands. Oh, cool, Everett. Very, very cool. You've been, we've seen you in a lot of stuff, a lot of our different streams and things. But yeah, Netherlands, very cool. I still have to make it out there. Okay. Hello from Connecticut. Do we have an Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter? Because these streams are very exciting and fun to watch to ask questions. Yeah, totally. So I just linked Telegram, and here is our Twitter. Let me go here. It's just Twitter/Woodland Pools. Yeah, there it is. Okay, great. So so this is for Nick Jr. I love that name, by the way. Nick Jr., Nickelodeon, and Paramount. Okay, that's our Twitter. Cool. What else we got? Oh, come on. There we go. Haval, hello. Hope you're well. Hey, hope you're well too. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you. Okay, Pedro. Sent ADA from Coinbase to your Roy, then the transaction was delegated automatically to ASPEN. Is this the way it always happens? Yeah, so to be clear, I think what you're referring to is that you delegated to the pool, right? And then you bought more funds, and when you sent them to your wallet, that was also automatically delegated. If that's what you're saying, then yes, you're correct. That's exactly how that works. So what happens is currently, there is not currently support for multi-wallet delegations. So if you look here, for example, here's the dashboard of this software wallet that we have. And you can see here's the total ADA, here's the total rewards, and then the combination. Yeah, and so here's the amount that's delegated. But then what you can see here is this is the pool that it's delegated to. And there is no breakdown in terms of how much is delegated to that pool because there's currently no ability to delegate to more than one pool from these wallets. So therefore, by definition, anytime you send any additional funds to this wallet, whatever you see as your total ADA, you'll see that matches your total delegated. And since you're only delegated to one pool, which is ours, or any other, but currently you're saying is ours, then your total amount will always be delegated to that pool. The notion of multi-pool delegation is a thing that has been asked for a lot, and it's definitely on IOHK's roadmap. It's not available yet as a workaround for people that want to do multi-pool delegation. If you're using a software wallet, you can just make additional software wallets. With a hardware wallet, it's a little bit trickier because you need to like buy additional hardware wallets unless you want to have a hardware and software mix. But yeah, currently any delegation you do is just to the one pool that wallet is delegated to. And a couple of other just sort of like normal FAQs. Any additional funds you send to that wallet are also automatically delegated. And also any rewards that wallet gets. So we were seeing here, this rewards balance is also automatically delegated as well. I'm not sure here why it doesn't include it in the total delegated, but your rewards are automatically delegated. So yeah, good question. Okay. So yeah, so Pedro, that's how it works. Yeah, hey, it was great meeting so many people at the summit. Not sure with this cryptic name who you are specifically, but it was awesome meeting all of you at the summit. It was a really, really great time. I think actually I missed a comment that somebody had said a bit back. There was somebody that was talking about. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I got so excited when Danielle was saying that she had made it out, and I was like curious which one that she went to. But yeah. So what Danielle was excited about was the Hydra Scalability Protocol. I take a sip of water. That's something that we're super excited about too. So for those that aren't familiar with Hydra, Hydra is the layer 2 solution that the IOH key team is working on for Cardano. Let me see if we can find this Hydra article. We actually are it's overdue for us to do a dedicated Hydra deep dive. You know what we'll probably do is, for this weekly report, we'll probably talk a little bit more about Hydra. Here we go. So Hydra, Cardano solution for ultimate layer 2 scalability. You know, Danielle, you've got me thinking, like, we haven't recorded the weekly report for this week yet, and there hasn't been a ton of huge news. It's probably a good time to dig into Hydra. So we'll probably talk about this in the weekly report. But basically, if you think about any blockchain, Cardano or any other, when you hear about layer 1 and layer 2, the layer 1 is the base protocol itself. So you can think about like the actual Cardano blockchain, or like the Ethereum blockchain, or like the Bitcoin blockchain itself. And when we, like, for example, we were showing here on pool.pm, actually, you know what we could do that would be kind of cool? Let's do this. If we go to, let's go to just pool.pm. This is going to show us Smaug's pool. But I want to show you all. Oh, actually, it's here, I think. I need to click up here. Oh, come on. Loading. Let's give it a second. Oh, of course. Oh no. Okay, good. It said we were offline for a second. So let's come on. Might need to give up on this if it keeps doing this. Okay, finally, here we go. So if we go to this little plus sign, man, pool.pm is, there we go. Pool.pm is being slow. I mean, granted, we have a lot of things running all at once, but still. All right, plus sign, work with me here. Man. All right, it's not cooperating. But what I wanted to show you was similar to how you can see like all of this different traffic here. Yeah, this is not gonna. Okay, finally. All right. I just want to go to. All right, we'll just do it this way. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. Let's see if this loads up here. In the meantime, keep saying hello and where you're joining us from. And while this is loading up, we've got about 25 people with us, but only about 13 likes. If you wouldn't mind, if you are enjoying the content, give it a thumbs up. Let's get it out there to more people so that they can join us. We're probably going to go for about another half hour. And in that time, we'll answer any other questions that we get. Happy to help out anybody else in the meantime. So yeah, give it a thumbs up. Let the algorithm know that you're enjoying it. And then we'll get other people's questions answered as well. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you. So when we think about layer 1 versus layer 2, all of this activity that we're seeing here on the Smaug pool, rather on the pool.pm site, all of this stuff that we're seeing here is all happening right now in real time on layer 1 on the actual Cardano blockchain itself. So we can see this block validated by wave 2, this one by the 1% pool. We can see these different people here, for example, this person switching pools, this one's switching pools as well, and here as well. All this stuff is layer 1 traffic. So like, for example, here, we see somebody going from doc pool to Latin pool, right? This is all layer 1 traffic. This is every time that you send and receive, for example, here, 145 ADA was added sent from this address to that address. This is all layer 1 traffic, base layer stuff, right? But if you think about all the different stuff that we want to be happening on here, and you want to have like really fast transfers of things back and forth, and you want to be able to like maybe for like different like blockchain gaming and stuff like that, where you can have a lot of transactions, not transactions, but a lot of data flowing back and forth, you probably don't want every single one of those actions that you're taking, whether it is some kind of a transaction or a movement in a game or whatever else. You don't want every one of those things to be written to the blockchain, right? You don't necessarily want to have to pay that network transaction fee, what we were talking about here, how he said when this person removed their stake from the Cardano blockchain entirely, they got their 2 ADA back minus the network transaction fee. You don't want to be paying that network transaction fee for every single thing that you do, right? So that's where you get help from what's called layer 2. So layer 2, let's go back to our blog. Layer 2, if your base layer is your layer 1, then your layer 2 are things you can do on top of it. And think of it this way. Think about like, so if I got these like fingers here, like if each of these is like a set of transactions that gets sent off to layer 1 blockchain. You can think that like maybe for a game or for something else or whatever, you could have instead batches of things that happen, and you bundle all those together, like let's say all 5 of these different interactions that happen in either some smart contract that I have in a game or something else. I can take all 5 of these things and then let them happen at layer 2, and I can do really fast transactions and different things back and forth. Then I roll them all up together and I submit them as a big batch to the blockchain on this one single transaction. And so that just as a simple example there, you can see how for every one of these, you could have 5 different things going on for each one of the actual transactions that you send to the blockchain. So you could have 5 different things and only pay the network transaction fee once for those 5. So that's the idea about doing things on layer 2. And then Hydra is Cardano's solution for layer 2 and how it can scale and grow from there. So I'm almost certain now that the more that I think about it, we'll dig into this. But yeah, here we go. So Cardano scalability layering on top of layer 1. Yeah, so we'll talk more about this in this week's weekly report. It's overdue that we talk about it. So really good question, Danielle. Thanks for asking, or thanks for pointing out Hydra. But yeah, so that's the idea behind layer 2 in general, and then Hydra with the multi-headed demon is Cardano's approach to handling layer 2 traffic. So that's sort of a really high overview of Hydra, and like I said, we'll be getting into more detail on it in this week's recap in our weekly report. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. So Pedro, yeah, so you were asking, this is the question about the wallet and adding funds. You're good at ASPEN, new to crypto. Hey, thanks. And welcome to the community. We're happy to have you. Okay. What are the likely use cases that you see for the Cardano blockchain? Well, Vince, there's a lot. I mean, so I'll try and keep it short. When we get the JED that's coming out, we did a whole video on the JED, the algorithmic stablecoin. Let me scroll up here. We did a whole video on it here. This is the JED algorithmic stablecoin. With that coming out, we'll be able to see, you'll be able to see sort of transactions back and forth, just sort of like payments back and forth. When Hydra is up and running, it'll be even easier to do, like, because if you think about it, right, like you don't necessarily want to have to pay that network transaction fee of 0.17 ADA every time, anytime you're buying something, right? Like let's say, for example, if you're buying a car, then 0.17 ADA isn't necessarily that big of a deal if you're paying the network transaction fee to buy a car. But if you're buying like a bag of chips at the store, and that 0.17 could be now a non-trivial percentage of the total cost of the thing that you were trying to buy in the first place, right? So I think that the payments of things that will come, but that's going to require layer 2 stuff like Hydra. Now that smart contracts are out, paired with NFTs, we'll be able to start seeing things like fractional ownership of things. So NFTs, everybody thinks of them in terms of like artwork and stuff like that. But NFTs, the whole notion of a non-fungible token and it like uniquely representing something is that it can be used to represent real physical things as well. Like we've heard about like Beef Chain, for example, is a project that's already happening in Wyoming, and then where to track livestock utilizing NFTs in the Cardano blockchain. Charles has actually talked about, he has his bison on his ranch. He wants to start doing NFTs for ownership of those bison. So you could like have an NFT token that represent an actual real livestock somewhere. So the same way how you can think about how like gold or silver, when you're buying gold and silver, you're not necessarily actually getting the gold or silver shipped to your house, or people buy barrels of oil. You're not actually buying that barrel of oil shipped to your house. You're buying a digital representation of it, right? You think with NFTs, you can start doing similar things for livestock. You could have like your mortgage. You could have your house, the ownership of your house be represented by an NFT that you could have fractional ownership of an NFT as well. So instead of just being, it is one token, but you can do fractional ownership of that token. So that's like another thing that you could do. I think gaming will come. That'll be unlocked when we have like layer 2, so you could have the fast transactions and stuff like that. Another really big one that we're gonna dive into in detail at some point is with Atala Prism. So obviously with Atala Prism, we know that with the Africa special here, that with the work going on in Ethiopia, Atala with their digital identifiers, this is being used in Ethiopia to provide digital identity to their like 4 or 5 million students, but also with the partnership with Dish, that same digital notion of a digital identity with Atala Prism is going to be used to provide digital identities to people on Boost Mobile, Dish's mobile network. So with the notion of digital identity, you can say, hey, this is me, and you can prove that it's you, but you're the one purely in control of your own identity and who you share it to. Similar to with Yoroi here, like if I have my Yoroi software wallet, how I generated my Yoroi software wallet, but I'm the one that holds the keys and I'm the one that owns this wallet. With Atala Prism, you'll be able to generate a digital ID, but you're the one holding the private keys to that ID, so you can grant and revoke access to that. So that's another thing. And then obviously there's things like DEXs, like, decentralized exchanges and stuff like that. But there's a lot that's coming that's immediately imaginable here, like in the immediate future, but way more that I would expect that we haven't even thought of yet. So a lot of cool stuff coming for sure. Yeah, so we were talking about the different delegations and things like that, and how multi-pool delegation is not yet enabled. That is an important caveat to point out, as McCabs has pointed out, that Adalite does support multiple delegations. But what I will say about that, though, is that they're doing it in kind of their own workaround kind of way. It's not formally supported yet by Yoroi or Dataless, and so for that reason, we haven't really been going into it, because we have found that even though they do technically support it, it's something where, since it's sort of an Adalite only thing, and a lot of people don't necessarily know how to use it, we've found that it kind of like leads to more confusion than not. Like, we've had people reach out to us, say, I delegated on Adalite, and then I go back and my balance is 0. And it's because like they were looking at a different wallet or a different account on Adalite. So, I'd say just kind of be careful about that Adalite multi-delegation thing. At least for us, we're conservative by nature with these kinds of things. So we're holding off on that until it's formally and officially supported on all wallets. And then we'll go into it and we'll do it that way. So is Hydra to Cardano like Matic is to ETH? Do they have a coin? So no. So Hydra is a protocol, a layer 2 protocol. I mean, so similar to how you've got Matic or you've got Lightning Network on Bitcoin, there's these are things utilizing layer 2 to be able to like handle these things. But Hydra is not a separate project. It's something that's being done by the IO team. As sort of as like the same way how they, input output set up the base Cardano layer. They're kind of trying to get ahead of some of this layer 2 stuff, and they're proposing Hydra as like the layer 2 solution for everybody to work off of ahead of time before you start seeing some of these other spin-offs that are organic from the community. I expect that then you'll see like additional optimizations on top of Hydra as well, but I think this is the IO's team's way of trying to get ahead of that and say, hey, here's our formally approved way of doing these layer 2 solutions and transactions. And like I said, we'll go into Hydra this weekend for sure. Okay, we got some more folks joining us. Let us know where you're joining from. Give it a thumbs up if you're enjoying it, and drop in your questions. We'll probably go for about another 15 minutes or so. We'll go as long as there's questions and stuff that you guys want to talk about. All right, Pedro. You have a small business and you have an app for it. Will I be able to use my app with Cardano blockchain to promote my small business in the future? Yeah, I mean, potentially. So it depends on what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. But to that point, I'm not sure if you saw our video on, we had a video on here. This video here, we talk about, let me make sure I grab the right one. Yeah, copy link address. So Pedro, check out this video if you haven't already seen it. Check out specifically the Dish partnership and the DApp store. Okay, so in that video we talk about it a little bit, but the IO team has already announced, let's go to September's blog entries here. They've already announced this idea for a DApp store. So not just an app store, but a decentralized app store. And so the cool thing about that, come on, here we go, great. Let me scroll down. And you can come to this iohk.io blog here as well. I'll share this article with you too. Yeah, so something about like these DApp stores that's cool to keep in mind, right? And we talked about this a little bit in that video, but the cool thing about these DApp stores is if you think about it, like our old school way, here we go. copy this link address. So, and this is for DApp Store blog article. Great. Okay, so here's the way to think about DApp stores, right? So right now, Pedro has a small business and he has an app for that small business, right? Here's the thing is that even though this has been, this really unlocked a huge way for people to interact with different companies and products and whatever else, ask anybody, including probably you, Pedro, anybody who has ever released anything to these app stores, and it's like a whole series of hurdles you have to jump through to make sure that either for Google Play or the iOS App Store or both, if you're deploying to both, that you meet all of their specific rules and regulations. And we saw with the whole battle that was going on with Apple and with the Fortnite team where they weren't allowed to do microtransactions, and so they had to like go to court with Apple to say, hey, this is our app, we're trying to charge people for it. But Apple didn't want them to be sending people outside of the App Store to be able to do these microtransactions and things. All of this stuff that we're used to with these gatekeepers of being just this one or two companies, like all the stuff that we're used to, this only happens because these portals to entry revolve or are gated through just a couple of companies. Like think of it this way. If you want to do an online search, right? Most people default to Google. If you want to like connect with people and make like a page, interact with people and share photos and whatever else, most people use Facebook or Instagram, right? If you want to be like live interacting with people and sharing ideas and stuff like that, most people use Twitter. If you want to be like loading an app for someone to download onto their phone, you have to use either the iOS App Store or Google Play. So in what I just mentioned there, you've got there only, even though it's like, first of all, there's only like 5 different on-ramps total for all these things that we've said. And even then, of those, we were talking about Instagram and Facebook. Those two are the same company, right? And then we were talking about Google and the Google and the Play Store. Those two are the same company. And then we're talking about the Apple Store. So in those 5 different huge things that we talked about, and that's not even taking into account Gmail, which is also a Google product, of all of these like major things that people use to get these things done, it's all run by like a handful of companies or less. And the problem is that if you do something that company doesn't agree with, whether it's right or not, they have an easy ability to just shut you off from it. And then you have all of a sudden now this entire market you no longer have any access to at all, right? So that's a problem. And that's something that Charles talks about a lot as being a real problem. And that's what's great about these dApps in an actual dApp store. And this is what they're trying to do with the IOHK team with Dish Network is if you think about right now, you've got your small business, you've got your app in the App Store, but if for any reason you want to change something and Apple doesn't agree, you can't do that update to your app. If you have a dApp store instead, and you have the layer 0 of the network protocol of, your internet connectivity through Dish and through your Boost Mobile is how you get to the internet. Then from there, you can get to your layer 1 of Cardano. And if those two things are natively integrated and your Boost Mobile phone has access to Cardano natively and has access to this dApp store, now people can publish apps to there and there's nobody to ask. There's no permission you have to ask. You just publish it and it's just there, and you can just do it based on what you, Pedro, think is important for your business and not about what some specific regulations are for Apple or Google or whatever else. And what they're getting at in this article that's cool is like, okay, but sure, then if anybody can publish anything, then how do we know that it's safe, that the quality is decent, stuff like that? And this is where there's this notion of a certified dApp on the dApp store. And you get into things of like, for example, when you're staying in an Airbnb or when you're riding in an Uber, like how do you know that your driver or your host is decent? Well, because of this like very common notion now of rating systems that we have. We have it for TripAdvisor and for Yelp and stuff like that. So you have your dApp, you launch it into the dApp store. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. And then people in the community, as they're using it, they rate it, they rank it. Obviously, when you publish your code to there, it's open so anybody can see it. They can look at your code and see how it's working. And so then now you have this nice balance that Charles talks about where it's totally open, but it still has a self-governing regulation in terms of it's the community telling you sort of like how you're doing. Think about Yelp, for example, right? In Yelp, when you open a restaurant or do whatever in Yelp, you're not like hoping that some big company is going to like it. You're hoping that people that actually go like your place and then they rate you well. That's the same kind of ecosystem that they're pushing for here with this dApp store. And it's going to, I think, unlock even more than what we've seen with the app stores. We've got these very small funnels. Everybody has to come through these two roads. Now it just completely blows it open, and anybody from anywhere can just publish whatever they want to publish. And then it will be the broader community and the world at large that is the sort of the judge you have to answer to in terms of its quality and its efficacy. So yeah, really long answer, but really, really cool stuff that we can start breaking away from with this traditional notion of these big companies sort of controlling everything. So yeah, cool. We're almost at parity now of concurrent viewers to likes. Give it a like if you like it. We're going to go for about another 10 minutes. It really does help if you can give it a thumbs up. It'll get out to more people for these last 10 minutes, and we can answer their questions as well. And if you're watching on the replay, give it a thumbs up, and then more people will know that we did this thing, and they can join us for the next one. I'm trying to be better about drinking water. I always forget. Okay, so Legion says, is ADA locked up when staking off Yoroi? Well, you got a lot of questions back to back. Okay, so first question: is your ADA locked up when you're staking off Yoroi? No. So the hit, the greatest hits of delegating on Cardano or staking on Cardano is there's no minimum to stake. There is no freeze or lockdown period. Your coins never leave your wallet, and you're fully in control of them. Yeah, and you can unstake at any time. So those are the three biggest things: no minimum, no freeze or lockdown period, and you can add and remove at any time. That's the same as no lockdown period. There was a third one. No minimum, no lockdown period. Yeah, and you can add and receive automatically. Yeah, cool. Can you buy and sell with the Nano X? The Ledger Nano X supports buying and selling for specific currencies. It doesn't yet through Ledger Live do it for Cardano with ADA, but it does for Bitcoin and I think Ethereum. I'm not totally sure. You have to check out their site to be sure. When you send your ADA to your ROI, does it automatically go into your ledger? Yep, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Your delegation, because currently right now with your ROI and Dataless, you can only delegate to one pool. Any additional funds you send are automatically delegated, and any rewards that you get are automatically delegated as well. Okay. In reference to DeFi, will it be the first one on the scene? Will it be more likely a leader? I mean, you've got Ergo, Meld. So I'm not sure I understand the question. Like, in regards to DeFi, will it be the first one on the scene, and will be more likely to be? Well, so some of these things are different, right? Like Ergo is a different chain. Then you've got Meld, yeah, and you also have like Sunday Swap. So I think maybe what you're asking is like which of these can be like the front runner. There's a lot that are in running right now. Again, we're very conservative with this kind of thing, so we like to kind of wait and see which projects actually launch, because there's a lot of hype around a lot of these projects. But let's see which ones actually launch. Then from there, let's see if they're actually doing the thing they say that they're going to do. Not through even like any kind of like malicious intent on their side, but like, as I'm a software developer, like we're both software developers who run our pool. And for any other software developers out there, software development is hard. It takes a lot of time. And there are lots of projects that have really big ideas that just kind of never end up launching through no malice, but it just didn't come together for one reason or another. So you're right that there are a lot of different DEXs and DeFi things that are coming out, a lot of excitement around them. Personally, we are not delegating any of our hard-earned ADA to any of these projects that are yet unproven. Granted, there is the notion of, like the high risk, high reward, where getting in on some of these in the ground floor can be a huge payout. But a lot of times people think about only the high reward part of that statement and forget the high risk. Now, high risk is relative because, as I mentioned, you're not actually sending your ADA anywhere. So it's not like you can, as long as you don't send it anywhere, it's not like you can lose the ADA. But depending on how long you're locking it down for with one of these things, there is a very real risk of an opportunity cost of, like, if you've locked it in for an ISO with something that's starting up, the amount of time that you locked it in with that, if that project doesn't materialize or it's less than expected, there's a very real risk that the ADA you might have gotten as rewards for staking to begin with would have just been more than what you got for following and subscribing to this project. So everybody has to follow their own plan. Like we always say, like Never lose a chance to throw up this disclaimer. Not financial advice. Follow your own plan. If that's a thing that makes sense to you, totally go for it. But personally, we are not delegating any of our hard-earned ADA to any of these yet unproven projects. There's a lot of really exciting ones. One of them will have to be an obvious front runner and winner, because something has to shake out and win. But right now, none of them have launched yet, and so that's still yet to be seen, like who that winner is going to be. So we're waiting, but there's gonna be a lot of them. Yeah. You'll be using dApps once it's available. Thanks for the insight. Yeah, no, totally. We're really excited about it too. It's gonna just, I'm convinced it's gonna unlock a completely different way of thinking about how people get their products and their services out to the world. I mean, I really think that people are underappreciating the magnitude of the potential disruption that can come from a project like Cardano, cryptocurrency in general. But Cardano just feels like it's got everything lined up so well with the notion of Atala and digital identity. Think about the ability to have a digital identity and then grant and revoke for any number of things, for a business loan, for verification of your educational records, for owning your own like healthcare records. I mean, so just like the potential there is already immense. And then the idea of like, getting integrations with these like mobile carriers and things like that, to have native integration into a dApp store where now you can like launch things on there and not have to go through these main sort of channels. And then obviously the notion of decentralized finance has been around the Ethereum ecosystem for a while. But as we know, there's different things with fees and security and stuff like that. And so when decentralized finance really blossoms in the Cardano blockchain with faster transactions, lower fees, and improved security, like I really like just in those three things that I've mentioned, the notion of identity, which is normally like stuff that you're like your social security number or whatever else that you've spread around to all these servers that are constantly getting hacked, that being centralized and you owning it. The notion of a dApp store versus an app store, and like it just being there and nobody can stop you from deploying your product. Nobody can say, hey, don't do this. It's just the community that decides if it's got value or not. And then, from there, the notion of decentralized finance and that really exploding. I mean, it's like I feel like we're on like the precipice here of just like a huge, like it's the internet and how the internet changed the entire world. We're going to see changes on that level with these different blockchains, including Cardano. It's going to be mind blowing. And when we look back even 10 years from now, it's going to be unrecognizable. The amount of things that have been facilitated and enabled because of these different technologies. I think it's going to be huge. So the dApp store is one of them. And that's something that we weren't even talking about 6 months ago, maybe, or a year ago, right? And so these things, like ideas keep building on top of ideas, and it's going to be great. Chomsky, good to see you, Chomsky. Always glad to have you join us. Your thumbs upping this stream, we appreciate it. One Chomsky thumbs up counts for 5. All right. Am I wrong, or is the ADA smart contract harder than it was portrayed? Apophis, hey, good to see you. Been seeing you commenting on a lot of videos. Good to see you on a live stream. Thanks for joining us. So we talked about this a little bit in our video about, this one here. So check out this video if you haven't seen it. This actually might have been one of the ones that you commented in, but Apophis, if you haven't seen this one, smart contracts, I think this is the one we talked about, right? Where we were talking about, yeah. Trying to think, we talked about exactly, yeah, because that's sort of the one with the UTXO FUD. EUTXO FUD. So check out this one. We go into it there. The TLDR, we go into detail in this video, but the TLDR sort of it is that the accounting model on the Ethereum blockchain is such that it's sort of this globally shared state. It's the ledger model. And so with that, you kind of just like every transaction just stacks on top of the other one. So it's very, very straightforward to think through and very, very straightforward to code for, because it's just literally just everything stacks on top of each other. With UTXO and then the extended UTXO model that was adopted with Cardano, it's definitely more complicated. because it allows for things to be happening in parallel that don't have to like stack on top of each other. They can happen concurrently. But the problem is that to do that, you have to be thinking concurrently. And so like, for example, in a programming language like, let's say like JavaScript that's single threaded and you can only have a single thing going on at a given time, it's a lot easier than working with like a programming language like Erlang, which has multiple things in flight all at once, right? And this is the same sort of paradigm difference between Ethereum and Solidity, and then Cardano and Plutus, and it's just completely different approach. So I think what's throwing people off is not that smart contracts themselves on Cardano are inherently more difficult. It's that, or that the protocol itself isn't necessarily as powerful, which it definitely is. It's that it takes a little bit more thinking through it when you're doing it because of the fact that it's so much more extensible and scalable. So you think about like anything else where it's like, oh, this is really simple, but then it quickly hits limits of scalability and things like that. There's a little bit more of a learning curve with the Cardano smart contracts with Plutus, but once you get there, then your scalability sort of is blown open in terms of what you can do. And then when you add to that things like Hydro, we talked about extensively already on the stream here. Okay. Yes, but is the space, oh, I see. So for your question about the different things that are launching, is the space large enough for all? Keep in mind, some pools offer token drops for staking their pools. So essentially the gamble sense, yep, exactly. That's exactly it, right? So like the space could potentially be big enough for all of them, but it's the other part of your statement there where, that you're betting on this project, and once again, you're hoping for the high reward, but you can't only focus on the second part of that sentence. You have the high risk, and therefore you've got the high risk of your opportunity cost of getting a bunch of nothing coins, basically. So let's say you delegated to this pool that was part of an initial stake offering for 6 months, and you got a bunch of nothing coins, and then nothing happens, and then you've got this handful of nothing coins, and you could have just been getting 8 the whole time. Or it could be that like you delegate to what turns out to be the next big thing, and you get a whole bunch of next big thing coins, and then you're like, oh man, I'm a genius because I I delegated to this thing, and it was what blew up, and it became the next Uniswap, and it was a unicorn DEX or whatever, and so like I got a bunch of next best thing coins, right? So that is the trade-off there, right? Okay, so let's go rapid fire. Last few questions here. Thanks. No problem. Good questions. Exciting times we live in. Absolutely. I like we're on the precipice of like this next huge thing. Why can't you send crypto from Coinbase to Ledger? You definitely can. Because you were asking before about buying directly from the Ledger, and that is limited to certain things, but you definitely can. Like for example, here, and this is a Ledger that we've paired with Yoroi. And right now it's empty because we haven't done anything with it. This is for a tutorial that we did on how to pair the ledger with Yoroi. But you just come to receive, and you just grab one of the receive addresses, and you just send it over, and then it's just sent. And then so you're good to go. So you definitely can. Cool. So might not have seen that video. Check it out. Sweet. Yeah. For this one here, let us know what you think. Drop a comment in there like you always do. So we're right at about 5 o'clock Mountain Time. I think we'll probably call it here. I want to say this is always a great time. Thank everybody for joining us. If you don't mind, give it a thumbs up on your way out the door. And if you're watching on the replay, make sure to join us for the next one in 2 weeks. It's always a pleasure, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Have a great evening. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.